Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Type V3 and it's time to get naked with some hot-blooded magical girl action. This is a Figma review of Matoi Ryuko, the lead heroine from Studio Trigger's premiere anime series, Kill La Kill. Based off of her synchronized form, Figma Ryuko makes for an awesome plastic representation of her animation model. Visually, it's a striking figure and a definite result of the sharp sculpting that's been carried throughout the body. I like how almost all the details are molded onto the surface of the toy rather than being flat paint apps, and I especially love how the straps that run down the torso are entirely separate pieces, bringing out that layered look. My only complaint here would be the pleats on her skirt. I think they could have been emphasized a bit harder. The silhouette is clean and the proportions are mostly true to the character. I'd say her bust is a tad oversized, but with Kill la Kill's frantic art style, it's tough to call what's accurate and what isn't. As for paintwork, it's fantastic too. Everything's crisp with no signs of bleeding, overspray, or uneven coats, though it is weird how the inside of the peg hole on Ryuko's back wasn't painted red. When it comes to other unsightly features, there's surprisingly not much here. In fact, the only issue is with the figure's torso joint. In most cases, I don't find this joint cut distracting, however, because it's done with her skin tone, it just looks strange. It's not a deal breaker, still I can't ignore it either. Of course, head sculpts on anime characters are where Max Factory truly shine with their Figma series, and they don't disappoint here either. Let's start with her hair. It's unreal. The aggressive shape is just rad and oozes personality. The face itself with that cocky smirk is unmistakably Matoi Ryuko, although her eyes don't quite give off that bright crystal quality that's seen in the anime. In truth, they're somewhat dull. It's a small critique, but one I feel is very important to the character. There's two more face options, one with her fiercely yelling and the other with her teeth clenched. Both are good, yet the real missed opportunity here is that you don't get a determined or angry mouth-closed face, the one expression that I feel represents Ryuko's character the best. Visually as a whole then, Figma Ryuko is better than great. There are some niggling issues, though I'd classify these as a result of the small scale of the toy. For articulation, Ryuko has a hinged, ball-jointed neck which can get in any direction fairly well. There is no real restriction here. There is a torso ball joint which can go side to side well, a little bit of tilting, up and down. However, you can tell they're starting to be restricted by these rubber straps, and I wouldn't abuse those too much because they might wear down over time. As for these pieces, as you can tell, they can sort of wiggle up and down and back and forth. They're not actually on a joint, they're actually just on these soft little plastic rubber nubs, and I have a feeling if these are abused too much, they will wear down, so just be cautious of these. The shoulders are connected with a double-ended ball joint, so there's a ball joint inside the torso, one at the shoulder, lets you wiggle it up and down, back and around, and gets good decent range in every direction. The only problem is because her chest is so large, you can't really get the arms to go in front of the torso, and because her skirt likes to protrude outwards, it's hard to get her arms resting at her side. That's the only issue. There's a dedicated bicep swivel, single-jointed elbow, which has pretty decent range, and a hinged wrist. The hips are pretty basic, they're just on a ball joint, so they go forwards, outwards, backwards, and of course there's a bar that runs through the crotch so you can get them to wiggle a little bit. There is a hidden thigh cut right at the top of the stocking here, so that's really nice. Single jointed knee, and of course the ankles are on a ball hinge that lets you pivot them, swivel them, and then of course get the ankle rocker out of them. And surprisingly, despite having these high heels with a little amount of surface area, I haven't had any issues getting her to stand on her own. In fact, she's pretty stable, and that's a really nice surprise. Articulation is very good. The main limiting factor is simply the range of movement in certain joints. She definitely won't hit the most outlandish poses from the anime, but there's still plenty of other fun options available. Accessories are fairly minimal for this Figma. Along with the classic hand rack, you get 5 pairs of hands. Fists and open palms are a given inclusion, then there's a pair of special display hands for more creative poses. The final 2 pairs of hands are both of the gripping nature. The first is for wielding Ryuko's signature weapon, the scissor blade. It's completely done in semi-gloss red plastic with minimal and effective sculpting. The blade section pops off for easier access to the handle, and because the item is light, no weight issues are present when equipped in the figure's hand. Furthermore, you get a second version of the scissor blade, this time in decapitation mode along with its own set of gripping hands. Details are on par with the first sword, and the blade section detaches here too. Take note, the accessory may be light, yet due to its immense length, it can throw off the balance of the figure. Finally, as with all Figmas, an included display stand and accessory bag are included to round out the contents of the box. Kill la Kill was my favorite anime to be released in the past year, and to say that I was excited for this toy would be a huge understatement. So, as a fan of the series, there's definitely some favorable bias with this figure. That said, Figma Matoi Ryuko is a solid release that meets the expectations already set in the established toy line. Despite having some minor issues, both overall presentation and articulation are great. Accessories are minimal, however, I can't think of anything else worth including. Not packing in a determined face was a missed opportunity, but I'm sure that will eventually surface with another Kill I Kill Figma, or even in Max Factory's new Fig Fix line. Still, in spite of not being perfect, she completely satisfies. Nevertheless, Figma Matoi Ryuko is more for fans rather than general toy enthusiasts. I doubt those without knowledge of the fiction would be attracted to the figure, and the $45 price tag is a tough sell for this bare-bones release. I'd even admit as a complete package, this doesn't quite rank up there as one of the best Figma products to date either. Again, it's a figure for fans first. Of course, that in turn brings about a different issue altogether. How comfortable are you in your own skin to display a half-naked teenaged magical girl front and center in your own toy display? But that's all for me. Thanks for watching, and with Max Factory having already committed to more Kill I Kill Figmas, I do hope at some point we see a release of Ryuko in her unsynchronized state. Though, knowing them, it'll likely end up as some sort of convention exclusive.